It is my great honor to welcome you on this very auspicious first day of Oman Green Hydrogen Summit in this beautiful city of Muscat. And I really thank the Omani government to arrange a perfect and excellent weather. Very pleasant weather indeed. And my special thank goes to His Excellency Minister of Energy and Minerals for gracing the forum. I thank the co-host of the forum, which is H2 Korea, and sponsors, which are Highfly, Belva Energy, and Kotra, for their generous support. I also thank other partner institutions, including the Ministry of Energy and Minerals, for their collaboration. Today's forum is all the more significant in terms of three considerations, which are evolving global landscape pertaining to green hydrogen, Korea's development, and potentials for Korea-Oman partnership in this regard, respectively. First, there is a growing global momentum on developing hydrogen economy, and in particular, green hydrogen industry. Indeed, there is an increasing awareness that green hydrogen can be a game changer for accelerating carbon emissions reduction and improving energy security. We are exerting our collective efforts to unlock the potentials of green hydrogen industry. To achieve our common goal, we need to create an enabling environment and formulate policy interventions for the emerging value chains to sustain and extend. We also need to identify what challenges lie ahead and how we can address them properly. It is against this backdrop that the Oman Green Hydrogen Summit that launches today attracts a lot of international attention. Today's forum is aimed at leveraging strategies, perspectives, and best practices of Korea and Oman in green hydrogen industry, thereby synergizing with the Green Hydrogen Summit process. Second, Korea determines to contribute to the development of hydrogen economy and green hydrogen industry. Korea is committed to the goal of achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. As such, Korea attaches a high priority to building its hydrogen sector to contribute to energy transition. Having said this, Korea launched its hydrogen economy roadmap in 2019 and legislated the world's first Hydrogen Economy Promotion Act in 2020. In November this year, the Korean government's Hydrogen Economy Committee, chaired by the Prime Minister, announced the latest comprehensive plan encapsulated in three strategies to develop hydrogen economy, namely scale up, build up, and level up. The first element, scaling up strategy, intends to promote clean hydrogen ecosystem by establishing a supply chain and creating demand for hydrogen. According to this plan, hydrogen power generation will account for 7.1% of national output by 2036. By 2030, it is anticipated that the number of hydrogen-driven buses and trucks will increase to 30,000. Building up the second element aims at establishing a framework for distribution network and utilizing clean hydrogen. The plan includes building the world's largest liquefied hydrogen plant that will produce 40,000 tons per year by 2023. Expanding hydrogen recharging stations nationwide, and constructing hydrogen pipeline in the central western provinces in Korea, to name just a few. Leveling up, the third element, seeks to advance technological innovation in such core areas as electrolysis, liquefied hydrogen carrier vessels, hydrogen recharging stations, fuel cell mobility and power generation, as well as hydrogen turbines. One of the targets is to build an ammonia carrier ship by 2026 and liquefied hydrogen carrier ship by 2029. Third, there are huge potentials of developing partnership between Korea and Oman in this field. The Sultanate of Oman has pushed forward with an ambitious transition from hydrocarbons to green energy to diversify its economy, as per His Majesty Sultan Hayattam's innovative Oman Vision 2040. Oman's dedicated political leadership, its rich natural conditions, and geostrategic location would be enabling factors for ushering in green economy, green hydrogen economy. Oman's recent pledge to achieve net zero emissions by 2050 is yet another encouraging progress that is widely welcomed by its international partners, including Korea. Korea and Oman have forged a dependable energy bridge on the basis of a long-term contract for supplying Omani LNG to Korea. Korea is the largest destination of Omani LNG, with 44% of Oman's LNG production exported to Korea. Building on this traditional energy bridge, Korea and Oman could further create a green hydrogen bridge by sharing our respective priorities of exploring green hydrogen economy and leveraging our corresponding advantages in a mutually beneficial way. To conclude, it is our shared perception that green hydrogen represents one of the solutions for our future generations. Korea, Oman, and the other partner countries can work together on the basis of this common vision. I look forward to the following sessions for exchanging our strategic insights of the key public and private stakeholders in this regard. Thank you very much indeed. Shukran jazilan.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And now, we will play a short welcoming video message by Mr. Jido Moon, Chairman of H2 Korea.
Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jae Moon, Chairman of H2 Korea. I would like to thank Ambassador Kim Gi-ju for your kind remarks regarding hydrogen cooperation between the two countries. I would also like to express my warmest welcome and gratitude to Salem bin Nasser Al-Aufi, Minister of Energy and Minerals, Oman, and other diplomatic delegates for taking time to attend the conference today. I would also like to thank the speakers who will provide us great insights on behalf of the companies over both countries, and everyone who has attended the forum today. The international community has recently been putting heads together to deal with climate change and the energy crisis, and many countries have declared their vision and targets for carbon neutrality. In this regard, hydrogen is widely recognized as a key element to achieve carbon neutrality together with renewable energies. Last month, during the United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP27, the stakeholders made a breakthrough agreement to provide loss and damage funding for vulnerable developing countries hit hard by climate disasters. In addition, the participating countries emphasized the just transition to a clean energy society and the role of hydrogen for the continuity of humankind. The world hydrogen industry sectors are also keeping the pace. On the occasion of the COP27, the Global Hydrogen Industrial Association Alliance, chaired by H2 Korea with representing 20 hydrogen associations around the world, adopted and announced a joint statement calling for urgent actions from the government and the private sectors to work together for transition to the hydrogen economy. Distinguished guests, Korea and Oman have been continuously maintaining a cooperative relationship in traditional energy sectors, including LNG, over the past half century. Based on this traditional partnership, both countries are trying to expand the cooperation into the future energy sector, especially in hydrogen. To this end, it is necessary for two countries to discover a win-win cooperation model for creating a clean hydrogen ecosystem and revitalize hydrogen industries. Last September, the energy ministers of the both countries discussed strengthening the energy supply chain and Korean companies' participation in Oman energy infrastructure development projects. In the following October, the vice ministers exchanged opinions on investment and infrastructure expansion, renewable energy and green hydrogen cooperation between the two countries. Korea has been actively trying to develop hydrogen economy. For example, Korean government enacted the Hydrogen Industry Promotion Act in 2020 and has been systemizing the hydrogen policy by establishing a mid to long-term hydrogen economy implementation policy by 2050. As a result, about 28,000 fuel cell electric vehicles are now on the road, and 200 hydrogen refueling stations have been constructed nationwide. Korea is taking a leading position in establishing hydrogen ecosystem. In particular, the Prime Minister last month presented the national task over establishing a clean hydrogen supply chain and becoming #1 country in a hydrogen industry. Based on the three main strategies, including scale-up, infrastructure and system establishment, core technology development, Korea will create huge clean hydrogen demand and expand the use of hydrogen in various fields. In October, Oman announced a green hydrogen industry development strategy. In particular, Oman designated Duqm, Dopar, Al Jazeera as a green hydrogen production areas, setting an ambitious goal of increasing production capacity to maximum 8.5 million tons by 2050. Korea has experience and know-how in hydrogen industrialization. Oman has high potential for green hydrogen production. Therefore, both countries are in a complementary relationship that can create a great synergy effect through cooperation like conventional energy sectors. Distinguished entrepreneurs of a hydrogen energy business. The transition to a hydrogen society is possible only by sharing strengths, supplementing weaknesses, and growing together based on continuous exchange and cooperation. I sincerely hope that all the guests participating today will actively exchange views to discover the mutually beneficial cooperation model and the future-oriented partnership for leading the global hydrogen economy which both countries pursue. Once again, I would like to thank everyone who attended. I hope that this forum will be a regular exchange event and bring about tangible outcomes for cooperation in hydrogen economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for watching. And now I will hand over to His Excellency Ambassador Ki Kan, who will take you through the first session. Please, Excellency.
May I invite the speakers on the podium?
Yes, if I may, I now declare session 1 open. I would like to thank the distinguished speakers for their participation. The first session is intended to shed light on the policies and strategies of Korea and Oman to develop green hydrogen economy. Sharing perspectives and the best practices would enable us to further emulate the mutual achievements in this field. We will have 4 presentations, after which we will have a Q&A session. Now, if I may, I would like to invite the first speaker, Dr. Nak-hyun Kwon, General Director and Head of Business Coordination Center of H2 Korea, which is the co-host of the forum. Dr. Kwon has a long engagement in the Hyundai Motor Company with specialization in fuel cell development sector. Dr. Kwon, you have the floor, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. My name is Nak-hyun Kwon, General Director of H2 Korea. Thank you very much, and I pleasure and honor to this conference. Okay, I will start my presentation. Okay, prepare. Thank you. Okay, item. Okay. Thank you. I will present the current state of the hydrogen in Korea and each implementation plan. Okay, first let me introduce H2 Korea. H2 Korea is an organization established to promote the hydrogen industry in Korea. And in July 2020, the government designated Korea Hydrogen Industry Promotion Agency. H2 Korea serves as a bridge between the government and the private companies to revitalize the domestic hydrogen industry, trends and capacity of the domestic and foreign industry, and achieve and develop the value chain of the hydrogen industry. Yeah, international cooperation is more important than anything else in order to go to the global hydrogen economy. H2 Korea has established an international cooperation platform to promote international cooperation. To support international cooperation, H2 Korea has established a cooperative network with embassies from 50 countries, Hydrogen Industry Association from 20 countries, and international organization related to the hydrogen industry. Moreover, H2 Korea, along with the government and the companies, support to establishment of a green hydrogen supply chain overseas and support the project in cross cooperation with hydrogen producers. Also, we are discovering the international hydrogen industry cooperation models and promoting support projects. And through this, domestic and foreign companies are creating win-win cooperation models. This slide introduced institution that H2 Korea has signed. Sorry. Yeah. This slide introduced the institution that H2 Korea had signed bilateral international hydrogen cooperation. Currently, 19 cooperative agencies in 60 countries have signed a memorandum of understanding and conducting cooperative projects. With today's forum, we hope to establish close cooperation with Oman. East Korea formed the Global Hydrogen Industrial Association Alliance, GHIA, we call it GIA, a global hydrogen industry association for multilateral international cooperation, and held its opening ceremony in May this year. GIA is an international association of 20 countries with the aim of promotion the growth of hydrogen industry and expanding the hydrogen market by revitalizing brave global hydrogen cooperation. And the second GIA generation meeting held in Brussels in October this year, member countries are promoting global cooperation actively by adopting and issuing a joint statement calling for the promotion of the global hydrogen industry on the COP27 occasion. Yeah, East Korea is joined by 139 members. Looking at the composition of East Korean members, first of all, major domestic and foreign companies leading the global hydrogen industry and hydrogen specialized companies participating as members, and including is government and central government. Okay. Yeah. From now on, I will explain Korea hydrogen economy policy and direction. Korea will maintain and develop the hydrogen ecosystem in a balanced manner throughout the value chain from production of utilization. Hydrogen production will increase the proportion of energy supply and demand through the establishment of domestic and foreign production bases. In addition, we will establish a smooth distribution system for hydrogen and expand infrastructure considering hydrogen demand. Also, Korea will expand and develop the field of hydrogen utilization. It will lay for foundation for clean energy economy through the expansion of industry, power generations, and the mobilities, which are major application field. Okay. I would like to tell you about the hydrogen economy promotion plan and goal. First, Korea plan to build a clean hydrogen ecosystem. Second, it is to develop Korea into a global hydrogen powerhouse. And also, for the commercialization of the hydrogen industry, we will continue to promote the development of technologies that have secured economic efficiency. Okay. From now on, let me tell you about the current state of hydrogen economy in Korea. Korea is pushing for transition to hydrogen economy for carbon neutrality in 2050 and in creating a hydrogen ecosystem to revitalize the hydrogen industry. Currently, about 28,000 FCVs are supplied and operated in Korea, with about 27,800 passenger cars and 241 buses and 20 taxis and private trucks in operation. In addition, 202 hydrogen refueling stations have been built and operated across the country. Fuel power generation is operated at 53 sites in Korea, and about 830 megawatts of power is produced. The following is the current state of the hydrogen industry being promoted by local governments and each region in Korea. Okay. Korea had the world's best FCV technology in the field of hydrogen utilization. Therefore, Korea Hydrogen Mobility developed strategies is to apply the hydrogen fuel cell system technology, securing this way the various mobility, not limited at automobiles. Through this, it is to expand the global hydrogen mobility market and with the technology. Hydrogen mobility is not limited to the development of passenger cars and commercial vehicles, but is expanding its application to various fields such as drone, public, tram, UAM, train, and ships. In addition, it plans to continue to develop the technology of FCVs and increasing its performance and durability to the same level as existing internal combustion engine vehicles by 2025. Also, by continuously expanding the supply of FCVs, economic feasibility will be secured due to the increasing in mass production by 2030. Okay. Yeah, in this slide, you can see FCV currently developed and produced in Korea. Hyundai Motors Group is Korea has developed buses, trucks, and a tram, as well as passenger car and distribution them at home and abroad. For information, about 50 hydrogen trucks are supplied and operated in Switzerland, and it is well received for its excellent performance and driving stability. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, Korea is developed various mobility as well as FCVs. Hydrogen forklift are jointly developed and demonstrated by Hyundai Motors, Hyundai Mobis, and Hyundai Heavy Industries with the goal of mass produced in 2023. And the Lotte Doosan Bobcat Consortium is also scheduled to complete the demonstration by 2023. Hydrogen drone has been developed and demonstrated by Doosan Mobility, and we are aiming to mass produce them in 2025. Hydrogen UAM and overcraft aircraft is being developed by Hyundai Motor. Hyundai Motor plan to develop hybrid UAS for cargo by 2026 and optimize UAM by applying urban operation and full automated system by 2028. The hydrogen tram was developed by Hyundai Rotem and demonstrated in Changwon City and will be mass produced in 2023 and piloted in Ulsan City. Okay, let me explain the development status of hydrogen vessels in Korea. Korea is actively pushing the development of hydrogen ships. Each development is underway not only in the development of small boat, but also in the development of large hydrogen transport ships. Major Korean shipbuilder, Korean Register, and Hyundai Motors are also participating. Small boats are scheduled to be mass produced next year. Ammonia propulsion ships will be mass produced by 2024, and the liquefied hydrogen transport ships will be mass produced by 2028. Increasing hydrogen utilization in the industry. It is planning to expand the use of hydrogen energy in steel, petrochemical, and cement industries that emit a lot of carbon. Okay, Korea had the world's best operation experience and construction technology in fuel cell power generation. Let me introduce Korea representative fuel cell power generation facilities. Korea is under construction and operation of the world's best fuel cell power plant. To that end, the project is being carried out in the form of a joint participating by fuel cell equipment companies, energy companies, and the power generation companies. Please left to the slide of the detailed information of Korea company. Okay. As mentioned earlier, Korea is actively promoting to establish a network to introduce clean hydrogen from overseas in the mid to long term. Korea is expanding to establish a stable overseas hydrogen supply chain by 2050, encompassing both blue and green hydrogen in various. A hydrogen port construction plan is also being prepared for this. The number of hydrogen ports will increase from 2 by 2028 to 9 by 2030 and 40 by 2040. In addition, hydrogen production and infrastructure construction in hydrogen import ports will be promoted. As you know, the Hydrogen Act for promotion of hydrogen industry in Korea was enacted in 2020. In November last year, a basic plan for implementation of the hydrogen industry will established, including measures for the production and the introduction of green hydrogen. After detailed consultation through this revised bill containing the green hydrogen energy portfolio standard, CHPS, and the clean hydrogen certification system was proposed in June this year. Okay, to this end, the Korean government began preparing for green hydrogen certification system by listening to the opinions of related companies in 2021. We have formed a consortium with Korean energy companies, power generation companies, and distribution companies to continue the discussion. In addition, we share opinions with overseas partners, forming a consensus to embody internationally recognizable green hydrogen standards. Based on this, the government and H2 Korea will start full-scale discussion with overseas partners from 2023. Okay, finally, I would like to introduce the Green Hydrogen Trade Initiative Forum. As explained earlier, in order to introduce green hydrogen from above international standard for hydrogen trade and required and certification standard for green hydrogen must be prepared. To this end, we held this forum to share opinion on international hydrogen trade and the green hydrogen certification system of each country and discuss the able way to increase hydrogen trade and investment. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kwon, for the comprehensive and informative overview of the status of hydrogen economy in Korea. The elaboration of key features, including legal framework and governance structure, as well as evolving technological developments, attracted my attention. The next speaker in my list is Dr. Nishan Bardwaj, Deputy Director of Global Green Growth Institute, or GGGI. GGGI is an international intergovernmental organization established in 2012 at the Rio +20 UN Conference on Sustainable Development. Its vision is a low-carbon world of sustainable growth, and its mission is to support members in the transformation of their economies into a green growth economic model. Dr. Bardwaj's distinguished career includes numerous portfolios at the Asian Development Bank, Institute for Sustainable Communities, and the British DFID. Dr. Bardwaj, you have the floor, sir.
Good morning, Your Excellencies, my co-panelists and participants. Today the topic of my presentation is Unleashing the Potential of Green Hydrogen. Organizers have asked me to present the global landscape of green hydrogen and talk about GGGI's global program on green hydrogen. I will touch upon some of the important aspects of green hydrogen, and this is how I have organized my presentation. I'll be talking about the classification of hydrogen, the projected global demand for hydrogen and green hydrogen, economics of green hydrogen, and the projected demand for electrolyzers and renewable energy, and what that means in terms of the investments. Cost considerations for electrolyzer technologies, and the emerging demand and supply centers for green hydrogen. Then I'll talk about GGGI's green hydrogen projects in Indonesia, India, Morocco, and Nepal. I'll walk through this presentation quickly. You will have the copy of the presentations from the organizers. You can look at the details, but I would like to just run through how the global landscape is emerging for green hydrogen. Starting with the classification of hydrogen. This is basics. I'm sure a lot of people in this room already know this, but just to put a context, the hydrogen is classified into gray, blue, or green, more broadly, based on the feedstock that goes in the production of hydrogen and the process that is used to minimize the CO2 emissions in the process of producing the hydrogen. If the feedstock is natural gas or the coal, and using the steam methane reforming process or the coal gasification, resulting into CO2 emissions, the hydrogen produced is classified as gray hydrogen. In a blue hydrogen, the process remains the same as gray hydrogen, but the CO2 that is emitted in the process is captured, stored, or utilized. Green hydrogen, the feedstock is water, using the process called as electrolysis, using electrolyzer technologies. The energy intensive process, and the energy that is used in the process is a renewable energy, and there is no CO2 emissions in the process, and therefore it is considered as or classified as green hydrogen. Hydrogen is also the most abundant element in the universe, but always found in a combined state, and therefore it needs to be extracted, as we have seen in the previous slide, either using the steam reforming process, coal gasification, or electrolyzer technology. If you look at what's happening today, the hydrogen that is produced is currently used in refineries and in the fertilizer industry. About 90 to 93% is utilized there. But by 2030, hydrogen will be extensively used in the steel, mobility, power production, fuel blending, and other emerging uses. Hydrogen demand will expand exponentially. We have looked at various studies and seen the projections. Three major studies we have seen from BP Energy, from Hydrogen Council, from IEA, looking at what is the outlook for hydrogen between now and 2050. There is a little bit of a consensus there that there will be a growth an exponential growth in the hydrogen demand. Today we produce 80 million tons per annum of hydrogen, 96% of which is a grey hydrogen produced from coal and natural gas, and 90% of that is produced today is used in the fertilizers production or in the oil refineries. By the year 2050, there will be a six-fold increase in the demand for hydrogen, around 500 million tons per annum, and that demand will be driven by the sectors such as transport, building, steel production, cement, power, etc. The entire grey hydrogen that is produced will be converted either into a green or a blue hydrogen, which means that between now and 2050, there will be 80 gigatons, 80,000 million tons of CO2 emission reductions cumulatively, which is a huge number, and that is why we are all interested in moving from grey to green. There's a massive climate benefits. Also to say that the green hydrogen adoption will happen in phases. Today, in the medium term and in the long term. Today, what you see is a larger scale green hydrogen deployment, plants visible in refineries, ammonia, green methanol, and long-haul trucks. You just heard what's happening in Korea, and that is what is an example what is happening today. In the medium term, between 2025 and 2035, we will see more pilots and demonstration projects coming in the steel sector, shipping, aviation, medium trucking, and blending with the natural gas. In the long term, beyond 2030, we will see the green hydrogen being used in the cement, which is still a challenge, long duration energy storage, steel in the blast furnace injections, and other industrial heating and passenger vehicles. So this will be a gradual process, and this is how we see that the hydrogen will be adopted in different phases. Looking at the economics, the grey hydrogen is today available between $1.5 to $2 per kg, the blue between $2 and $3, and the green hydrogen, depending on where you're talking about the production of green hydrogen, the availability of electricity or the water or the off-takers and the technology that is used, the prices may vary between $2.5 to $7 per kg. The grey hydrogen cost is driven by its feedstock, which is the natural gas or the coal, whereas in case of green hydrogen, the cost is the initial capital cost and the cost of electricity. That takes the majority of the cost. This slide actually shows that the global deployment of electrolyzer will reach 400 gigawatts by 2030, which means a compounded annual growth rate of 100%, which is equivalent to $300 to $350 billion worth of an investment. Which also means that the renewable energy production also needs to go up, and what we can see is about 800 gigawatts of electricity would be required for this green hydrogen production. And if we have to reach 400 to 500 million tons per annum of green hydrogen production, we need 8,400 gigawatts of renewable energy. Electrolyzer technologies. There are three main technologies: alkaline, polymer electrode, membrane technology, solid oxide electrolyzer cells. The alkaline technology is the cheapest and the most widely used technology, but lower efficiency. PEM is a better in handling the variable renewable energy resources, but it's very expensive, and it uses some of the expensive minerals like titanium, platinum, iridium. SOEC enjoys a very high efficiency, also very cost effective, but operates at a very high temperatures, therefore it makes little less suitable for the variable loads. In countries where the solar potential is high, what we are saying that the alkaline technology will be more prominent in India, China, and the MENA countries, whereas in the Europe we will see the PEM technology is mainly used. On this slide, you will see three different colors: blue, green, and yellow. The green represents the potential exporters, which also includes Oman, you can see on the picture. The potential importer will be mainly EU, USA, Japan, and South Korea. The one in yellow is going to be self-sufficient, and maybe some export is possible. Why Oman? Oman is very well placed for the production of green hydrogen because of very high potential for renewable energy like solar and wind. Some of the highest solar potential exists in Oman. There is an industrial port infrastructure very well developed, and there is a robust gas infrastructure. The taxation regimes and the other kinds of benefits that are available with Oman for SEZ regions makes it very preferred location for industries and the private sector to invest. As already talked about, Oman's green hydrogen strategy: 1 million production by 2030, 8.5 million tons by 2050, 50,000 square kilometers earmarked, and an investment of $140 billion. It's a huge opportunity for private and public sector to invest in Oman. I'll not talk about the auction that Oman is doing. It is world's first green hydrogen auction, because somebody from the panel will speak about that. But that's a huge development in and a way forward for the world to look at. I'll talk about 4 projects that Global Green Growth Institute is doing, and I'll just make a small introduction to these projects. Before I talk about these projects, Global Green Growth Institute is an intergovernmental organization. We have operations in over 54 countries. We have 44 member countries. We will be very happy if Oman becomes a member country of GGGI. We have a headquarter in Seoul, and we work as advisors to the governments in promoting the green growth priorities in the countries, in our member countries and in our partner countries. Talking about the green hydrogen project in Indonesia, we are doing this project in the North Sumatra region, which is high on geothermal. One of the requirements for producing green hydrogen is a steady supply of electricity to produce hydrogen, and that needs to be renewable energy. And renewable energy, normally to find 24/7 becomes difficult, and therefore green hydrogen through geothermal, which is 24/7 available, makes a good option. We are doing this in North Sumatra, this project. The first phase is 10 megawatt. We are doing a feasibility study to put 10 megawatt plant, which is already in the process, and then we will scale it up to 1 gigawatt of green hydrogen production, which means $1.5 billion worth of investment into the project. This is our project in India. We have partnered with the World Bank in this project, where we are trying to create an institutional and a financial mechanism to bridge the gap between grey and green hydrogen without viability gap funding, which means that if the producer wants it at $7 and the user wants at $2, this institutional mechanism will absorb the cost without putting a viability gap funding. And that's a huge challenge, and this is one of the very interesting area for work, because the cost differential is seen as the biggest bottleneck in promoting green hydrogen. Morocco, I'll just walk quickly through these projects. Morocco imports about 2 million tons of ammonia, and the demand is further going up. The highest phosphate reserves in the world. We are looking at 100 megawatt of a demonstration project in a fertilizer plant with an investment of $350 million. And we will use either the alkaline technology or a PEM technology depending on the offtake of this project. Another project is in Nepal. As you all know, Nepal is rich in hydro resources. It gets more water than its catchment area. We are doing a project because Nepal is also importing huge amount of fertilizer. And therefore, what we are trying to do is to work with the government to see that if we can put up a fertilizer plant, reduce its dependence, there's huge amount of subsidies that is provided by the government, and create a win-win by putting a fertilizer and an ammonia plant in Nepal. Thank you. I'll stop here and look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bardwaj, for the extensive bird's-eye view at a global scale. We gained a better understanding about where we stand, and Oman's status in your analysis and comparisons merits our close attention. The next speaker in my list is Mr. Nasser Al-Rizeki, hydrogen and new energy specialist of the Ministry of Energy and Minerals of Oman. He has rich experiences in various institutions in the energy sector, and he will give us a comprehensive landscape of the Omani government's strategy to advance green hydrogen initiatives. Mr. Nasser, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone, and hello, and thanks for attending our presentation. My presentation is going to be more of overview, what's happening in the ministry, and what's our outlook for the hydrogen, and what was the work that has been done in the ministry to unlock the potential of this new energy. As you can guys hear before, that there are many potential in the hydrogen, and there are many studies that expected that there will be huge demand in the future. So as you can see, our hydrogen economy, or the feasibility studies, started in 2021. This is where our journey started, and there was the establishment of National Hydrogen Alliance, which Dr. Khalil will be explained in more details in the next presentation. And in March 22, there was a big change when the Royal Decree of Hydrogen appeared that set the required strategy and the policies and the legal framework, which is we are working on it right now. And we worked on allocating lands for green hydrogen, which I'm going to explain in more details in the next slides. And the establishment of the Directorate General for Clean Energy, or renewable energy and the hydrogen, and the establishment of a company to develop the hydrogen sector, which is Hydrogen Oman, and Dr. Faras will explain in more details in the next presentations. After that, we moved to many steps, and on October 2022, there was the announcement of the net zero targets, and also the kickoff of energy transition policy and legal framework projects, and the official launch of Hydrogen Oman. So my presentation, I will cover mainly 2 points, which is present Oman's ambition in green hydrogen and showcase the roles of Omani hydrogen value chain. As you can see here, and most of the companies and also H2 Korea initiatives and the previous company, we're expecting a huge demand in the next coming future. So by 2050, the expectation on this studies indicate that more than 46% is going to be more the requirement of the green hydrogen, and 45% of blue hydrogen. And the total amount of how many billion tons is about 200 million tons per annum of green hydrogen production expected to reach up 2050. And we aim to be part of this percentage. There is strong market momentum with more than 900 projects announced in the pipeline, but only 1% of the announced projects is at mature stage. So based on the study that we conducted, we have seen that more than 25 countries have released hydrogen ambitions, including Korea. And the key learnings from the low carbon hydrogen country strategies was decarbonizing the industry as a first priority, targets and policies centered around supply chain, creation of hydrogen clusters, that concept to have very low levelized cost of hydrogen, and growing international cooperation. So the bilateral agreements allow for knowledge sharing and de-risking national hydrogen investments. So what's the survey that we have done, and was based on the studies, we have seen that the potential markets or potential countries that are willing to import hydrogen in big quantities are Japan, South Korea, and Western Europe. So what are the main 5 pillars that we are looking for, the strategic objectives to move towards green hydrogen? First, ensure the energy security for the international market and the money demand. That's diversify our local economy, decarbonize the country to safeguard the sustainable future, create green hydrogen sector with a competitive levelized cost of hydrogen for export markets, and attractive for foreign direct investments, support innovation and ensure capabilities development in Oman. Slide. Thank you. As you can see, based on the studies that we have conducted, we have seen the big potential of wind and solar energy are concentrated in the southern part of Oman. And the ministry worked on declaring lands or clearing out lands for renewable energy and the hydrogen. The total amount of total renewables available land for hydrogen or for renewables about 50,000 kilometers square, which is equivalent of 25 million tons per annum for hydrogen, or 500 gigawatt of renewables. But the potential to utilize that, or to reach the targets, which I'm going to explain later, would be using only 30% of that percentage. As you can see, Duqm, Jazer, and Salalah have huge potential due to the solar and the wind in the same areas. So what's our target as a country? So we're aiming to reach up to 1 million tons by 2030, and by 2040 to reach up to 3 million tons per annum for hydrogen, and after that by 2050 to reach about 8.5 million tons per annum for hydrogen. And reaching to that target by 2050 will be only 30% of the available land for the green hydrogen required to fulfill that target. The cumulative investments that are expected for the hydrogen, starting from this year up to 2050, will reach about 140 billion, which is about 554 billion Somali riyals. And the total Oman plans to reach up to 2050 will be very huge. 300 million solar panels, 180 gigawatt of renewable capacity, 100 gigawatt of electrolysis capacity. But all these targets are accumulated starting from all this year. So starting from, I'll share the details of what hydrogen Oman is working on, and Dr. Fras will explain it in more details. So we have opened the bid for 2 blocks. The size of each block about 300 to 320 kilometers. And 7 years for the first phase. The first phase will include the feasibility study, pre-construction, and then construction until kickoff of production. And then the total life of project is about 4 years, which is normal lifespan for the ammonia plant. And the land lease and the base royalties, the corporate taxes, and the equity stake, it's ongoing work with the legal department, the Hydrogen Oman, And we're expecting to have the first agreement by Q1 2023. This is our ambition, and we hope to reach that target. And the incentives that we're looking for are focused mainly on the land lease. So there are phases in the land leases that won't be applied to have a feasible project. And the scope that we have integrated projects to produce hydrogen derivatives, which includes renewables, hydrogen production, derivatives conversion, and offtake. Common infrastructure to be tendered separately. The conditions are no commitment for offtake, because it's kind of nascent market, and we leave it up to the developer to choose which country to offtake, and the end-use land to be given back to the government, but that based on the feasibility study that the company that will conduct, and see which land is available to reach up to that target. Finally, what's the segmentation of this sector and how we will process it? So we as a government, will be focusing on the regulation part, and the orchestrator, which is Hydrogen Oman, their part will be tendering for the lands and infrastructure management, also the offtake coordination. By saying the offtake coordination, which is organizing all the supply chain for the developers, and the infrastructure, which include transportation and storage, will be handled by Hydro. Part of the infrastructure providers will be including OQ Gas Network, Marafat, and the other companies that can help to support the infrastructure for these companies, because we know the levelized cost of hydrogen depends a lot on the infrastructure part. So having expensive infrastructure will lead to very high prices for the hydrogen. By utilizing that and using the local entities or local capabilities can drop the prices. Other developers will be mainly international developers with OQ alternative, which I explained earlier, 20% of equity stake. At the shipping, we have our local company, Asiat, which is part of the Oman Investment Authority. This is in general how we see the sector, and we hope to have the first agreement, like I said before, by Q1 2023. And then the next block is going to be all offered by Q2 or Q3 2023, which is 3 to 4 blocks, depending on the appetite of the market. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Nasser, for your presentation. It is very comprehensive in scope and rich in details in a very succinct manner. Appreciate it. And I look forward to a lot of attention and inquiries from the floor about these features of Oman at the Q&A session. And the last speaker in my list is Dr. Khalil Al-Hanashi, Project Manager and Coordinator of the National Hydrogen Alliance, or HyFly. Dr. Khalil has long been in service at the Petroleum Development of Oman in various portfolios. Dr. Khalil, you have the floor, sir. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very good morning to you all, and let me first, on behalf of the Oman Hydrogen Alliance, welcome our Korean guests, welcome our friends in hydrogen and all the attendants for both sides, and thank the embassy for being so proactive in organizing this and listening to the first presentations from H2 Korea, which is the Hydrogen Alliance for Korea, and from His Excellency the Minister. I think there are already a couple of areas where that catched my attention, where we can draw synergies. They've mentioned about the hydrogen mobility, which is something that our members are already looking at. They've mentioned the potential for hydrogen as a long-term or large capacity energy store, which we think is something that Oman will need moving forward into the energy transition, where the massive renewable developments will not only provide opportunity to export clean energy, but also will provide opportunity for this country to decarbonize its own economy and emissions, and provide that energy day and night using multiple storage or energy storage options, including hydrogen as one of these options. I have a very short presentation with the objective is to introduce the Oman National Hydrogen Alliance. Already the second slide. Yeah. So the alliance was established just over a year ago, relatively young comparing to our Korean counterparts. And this alliance was established as a result of the first look at the hydrogen economy by the government, led by the Ministry of Energy and Mineral. And the alliance was established in August 2021. We had 15, or we still have 15 founding members, and those constitute the steering committee. So the alliance runs as a collaborative platform, coordinated national momentum in hydrogen. So the hydrogen economy in Oman from day one was seen as a collaborative, coordinated momentum to make sure that we do reap the benefit of this upcoming economy. You see the logos of our members, and we have three, I would say, three distinct type of members. We have the government entities, which are important for putting the policies, the regulation, and orchestrating the hydrogen economy. That is the Ministry of Energy and Mineral, which is chairing the Hydrogen Alliance. So His Excellency at the moment is also chairing the alliance. We have the authorities or the regulator, the Public Authority for Service Regulation, and we have also the Environment Authority, and we have also OBAS, which is looking at all the industrial areas in the country at the moment. Then we have all the major energy companies or hydrogen early movers in business and projects. That's all the majors, including national and international energy companies. We have the ports, and ports are key important element of the hydrogen economy in Oman. Because as we all discussed or heard, there is a huge potential for export. So having ports integrated within the ecosystem is also important, and we have the academia, because we believe this is also a nascent market. It will have its own local challenges that need to be addressed by local expertise or maybe in collaboration with international expertise. So the R&D and development of technology is key for us going forward. The Alliance has a PMO office or project management office, which is kindly sponsored by Petroleum Development Oman at the moment. We also have operate in 3 working groups that is also expands as per need. Those working groups cover the infrastructure, certification, and renewables. At the moment, they have an active working teams or technical teams that discuss and deliberate on those 3 areas. A little bit on the objective of the alliance and what we're trying to do with the alliance. I think developing ecosystem to start with. The hydrogen is beyond the project for us. We can develop a project, but you will not reap the full potential of the hydrogen. You will have to develop an ecosystem. That's including the manufacturing, the skills, the utilization and the export and so on across the value chain. We also need the alliance to develop a shared national vision. And that is important for the alignment going forward, and this is one of the key features of countries like Oman, where you can take decisions relatively fast because of the setup of the system, but you also need to make sure that we are aligned toward that decision. The fast decision is important, but also the alignment with the main stakeholders is also important, and Hydrogen Alliance is one of the platforms or areas where this alliance and key shared vision happens. We use the alliance as an engagement tool in structured policy discussions. A lot of policy being worked out at the moment, and Rick Nasser talked about energy transition policy framework. There's hydrogen legal policy review is happening. All these policies do get sort of first look or input from the alliance as well to make sure those policies are fit for purpose when they get announced by the government. The development of integrated roadmap, again, we've seen the supply chain from the presentation from Nasser, and there are quite a number of players. Being able to kind of orchestrate or collaborate within that supply chain is one of the important roles where the Alliance is supporting as well. For 2022, which is our first year of operation, we had around 6 focus areas that we try to stimulate within the members through their contribution, through shared work packages, and also through discussion. We had the decarbonization and net zero commitment, and we have seen this now moving in its own sort of momentum after the Oman net zero commitment has been announced. We have the development of supply chain, the creation of local demand and pace setters, because as much as we'd like to export the hydrogen, I think the biggest value will also come from utilizing this hydrogen locally and trying to find out those early pace setters for local utilization of hydrogen. Lost the screen. Yeah, I think it's on the other side. Sorry if you cannot see, but you would have to listen to me talk. I think we'll have also the development of the R&D and innovation, and as I say, we have two prominent research institutes within the alliance, and they work together on applied sort of packages for R&D and resolving some of the local issues with the hydrogen. One of our also focuses is to promote Oman hydrogen potential and raise Oman's ranking in the various indices. And so far there is at least a hydrogen stability index that we have been closely following and trying to make sure that whatever we do is also helping to raise that ranking and attract the right attention for the country, because we do all believe that there is a high resources, and if people don't know about your high resources, probably they will not come to work with your high resources. Lastly, is the certification and export. We do see certification of hydrogen as a key enabler for export. We will not be able to trade hydrogen if the buyers and sellers are not agreeing with the certification, and most importantly, if the buyers are not comfortable and confident that you are selling them the hydrogen that they want, whether regardless what color it is, but the CO2 or embedded CO2 content in that hydrogen would need to be assured, and whatever being shipped or whatever being sold as hydrogen or hydrogen derived product need to have that certification, also to maintain the reputation of the country as a trusted clean or green hydrogen exporter. No, we're going too fast for him. Yes, I think this is my last slide, and since we started, I think there is the notion of hydrogen hubs, and you cannot develop a hydrogen project in isolation of an ecosystem. It would be too difficult to develop something in the middle of nowhere. And we see the current hydrogen utilization points. We have Sohar, we have Suqur, we have Duqum, and we have Salale. Those are industrial ports and industrial areas, and they already use hydrogen. Even though it is the grey hydrogen, but the know-how, the infrastructure, the skills handling hydrogen, shipping ammonia, is something that already exists. And so we believe that anchoring our hydrogen ambitions around the hydrogen hubs is an important step going forward. And this is why, whether it is coincident or by design, you see all the land allocated for hydrogen will easily link to what we for hubs. In the north, we have the solar land allocation that Nasser showed in the previous map. I don't show it here, but maybe it's a good idea to overlay the two maps. But you see all these allocated lands are actually close to one of these hydrogen hubs, or potentially have as a hydrogen hubs. And working forward between our members, and that is a key collaboration sort of anchor for the collaboration within the Omani stakeholders and also within the export market stakeholders. This is my last slide, and I thank you for your attention, and thank the embassy and Shukriya. I'm looking forward to further dialogue with the Shukriya particularly.
Dr. Khalil, I thank you very much for sharing the extensive work of HyFly, which is a reliable bridge between the public and private sector in the hydrogen ecosystem. Now I would like to invite questions, comments, and inputs from the floor. And because of the richness of the presentations, we do not have much time to enjoy our interactive discussions. So with your indulgence, I would like to request you to make your comments as brief as possible. And I would also appreciate if you could let us know your name and affiliations. Now the floor is open. Please. Please.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Shibani from the National University. First question is how is Oman is going to be in collaboration with Korea in green energy? The second question is to Mr. Salim, Mr. Nasser, is how actually this project, the green energy project, will help graduates to find jobs. That's very important questions here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. May I invite another guest from the floor, Mr. Ambassador, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. I wanted to thank the Embassy of Korea in Muscat to organize this highly interesting event, and thank you also to the panelists for the presentations. And well, it's impressive. This is an area which needs enormous investment, and we have seen the figure of 140 billion cumulative investment that are needed in the next decades. And my question is, where will the money come from? How much comes from Oman? How much is Oman expecting to come from outside? How much is Korea investing in Oman? This would be my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Any other comments, inquiries, feedbacks? Please.
My name is Mahmoud Al-Bahri. I am from Sohar University. My question is for Dr. Nak Yoon. Is how artificial intelligence and Internet of Things can deliver to scale up the hydrogen economy. My question from the side of information technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May we then invite the speakers, panelists, to react to these questions. I think the questions are the profile of collaboration between Korea and Oman in this field, and how hydrogen economy would benefit the job creation in Oman, and what is the source of investment, and how Korea and Oman is working together, or I mean any other partners are working together in increasing the investment collaboration, and how the information technology, including AI and IoT, is facilitating the scaling of hydrogen economy and its technological adaptation, I mean application. So if I may invite the panelists to react. Okay, please.
Hello. For the first question, how can, before reaching to the point where you have reached the job creation, my idea is that how can we break the barriers between academia and the industrial part? So there are quite challenges in the industrial part, and there is, the academia works a lot on the theoretical part. Having a common ground where we have, I wouldn't say job creation, I would say research based that can solve the challenges that we have in the industrial part. So there is a gap, and there is a lot of potential research, and there is a lot of potential of reaching common targets which can benefit both the industrial part before reaching to the targets. As you can see, the project that we have seen for the hydrogen project, the kickoff project will be, I would say, by 2030 for these lands. So by 2030 is about 7 years from now. So for these 7 years, why not solving the challenges or the technical challenges that we are facing at the moment and be beneficial for both sides? Hope that answers the question of Dr. Saleh. And was there any question for me?
Yes, I think the question is addressed to Mr. Nasser about the investment collaboration with other foreign partners, and how, I mean, the sources of investment as well.
So what we are looking for, we try from us as a government, we try to, I would say, minimize the impact of these investments. So there's a lot of risk associated with the renewable energy, and this is a fact. But how can we minimize that? Minimize that by having these incentives, for example. We know that the project duration it's long, and securing these funds it's not that simple. But once you go to the green energy, and we try also, I think Dr. said, we're working the certification to make sure that these are green projects. Securing this type of funds won't be that a hurdle is, won't be a hurdle to secure the big funds for these projects. Also, we try to lower the levelized cost of hydrogen to make it beneficial for these projects to secure these funds. So from us as a government, we try to minimize the impact as much as possible to make sure these projects can kick off at the anticipated time.
Okay, thank you. And I think two questions are addressed to Dr. Guan. The first one is collaboration between Korea and Oman in this field. The second question is about IoT and AI application in this field too.
Okay, thank you very much. I think so. Korea is very similar to pipeline because the public and private sector reach to increasing hydrogen industry in Korea. Just to have to the maybe cooperation in Korea and contact to H Korea, and we have to the many Korean companies, major companies. Yeah. Okay. And we have planned to discuss after two meeting, discuss the pipeline and then some with how can to the direction of a cooperation network between Korea and Oman, and how can to the business models we can to the develop and in Oman. Just we have discussed, and then we have, our government is multi, and we discussed to how can to the this cooperation industry, and then our Korean companies and information to our Korean companies in Oman information. And the second question is some. I don't know. Just we can approach to the how can cooperation technology with Oman. We have more than such of discuss, and then maybe university in the I don't know exactly to this name is also we can connect it in how Korean institution or university, and we have to the information, and we can arrange it to meeting. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Guan. If I may briefly react to the inquiry of my good Austrian colleague. In terms of cumulative amount, Korea has invested in Oman $1.34 billion so far. And this is an evolving process. So as we pursue our collaboration with our Omani partners in the field of green hydrogen industry, I think there will be certain more movement, evolving movement in this regard. And are there any further questions, inquiries, comments? If I may invite another round of questions so that the panel, please.
Thank you for this discussion. My name is Abdullah Shurman from the University of Technology. I would like to ask about the cooperation between academia, between Korea and Oman. Is there any cooperation in terms of academia, research in this regard or any other regard? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think we already have one completed cooperation between SQ and a Korean university. I think it was one of our earlier development of studying the concept of hydrogen clusters. And it was solar hydrogen cluster pre-feasibility, and that was done jointly between a Korean university and Sultan Qaboos University in collaboration with the industry. And I think if you look into the hydrogen program, there is a dedicated presentation about that work. So I also encourage you to attend to that in the technical session if you want to.
Thank you very much. Any further, please? Please. Yes, ma'am, you have the floor.
My name is Shema to my question about Dr. Khalid. There is a close view to hydrogen to build a new area because she said it said about there's a 3 area of high fly in Sohar, Duqm and Sot. That's it. And about this is part to develop a student and about job. That's it. Thank you.
So if I understand it correctly, it's around the hydrogen hubs that I showed in Sohar, Duqm, Salala, and those are the areas where there is already hydrogen derivative production. For example, if you look at Sohar, you look at Duqm, you look at Salala, there is the ammonia, the methanol, Sor also, there is the production of ammonia and shipping of ammonia, there's an ammonia jetty, and those are elements you need for green hydrogen. And that experience is what puts those areas in the front. And even if I compare Oman with other countries that are at similar bar when it comes to the renewable resources, do not underestimate the need for a previous experience in converting hydrogen into derivative and in shipping hydrogen derivative and in energy trade as well. It was mentioned this morning that majority of Oman energy goes to Korea, for example. That energy trade mindset is also an important component. So leveraging on the energy history is a key component to go into the new energy business, and that is the thinking behind pointing out those areas, because that is where the energy derivative hydrogen utilization is already there. Shipping energy, importing energy also is also on those hubs. So we are upgrading our hydrogen hubs into the next level. So that is what will help us move forward. On the students and the job creation, maybe elaborate on what Nasser said. I think it's twofold. Number one, within the Hydrogen Alliance, even though I've been a small team and operating for just about a year, I think we had 15 students coming as interns, coming as a long-term sort of program, which is now it's called I'dad program that allows students to come for a year. So a lot of the young generation, and that is evident in the questions and the presence here, there is that appetite for a clean energy, for the new energy. So we will not struggle convincing or attracting young talents. And we have seen that in the, before getting a job. So you need to really do that before getting a job, upskilling, getting the mindset. And going forward when the first few projects come online, I think the sheer amount of renewables that is coming in, and I will stress specifically the projection for having the wind turbine or the wind renewables. Those are a little bit labor-intensive sort of technologies. If I compare it to solar cells, that doesn't move, just static. You would need a lot of labor to look after those wind turbines to optimize as well. Maybe, I don't know if I will leave the question about the AI, it has not been answered about the AI and the role of the AI, if I can chip in there. Today we don't have a electrolyzer that runs on renewables, it runs in steady electricity. And one of the challenges, if you have variable sort of power input to your electrolyzer, the sun goes out at night. Do you keep your electrolyzer running? Do you switch it? Do you run it at 30? Do you run it at 40? How do you optimize running hours between renewables and electrolyzer? And you cannot have a human just switching electrolyzer on and off. So that ability of the AI and development of the technology to optimize autonomously your system is one of the areas I think that will be needed going forward. So I hope that clarified at least the two questions on the research, the job creation as well.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid. Yes, please.
Thank you. My name is Mohammed Shail. I work in PDO. My question to Dr. Nak, what is the forecast of the energy mix within Korea, let's say by 2050, let's say starting by 2030 and then moving by 2050, i.e. what will be the contribution from hydrogen, nuclear, if it's fossil fuel, for power generation and so on. So this is the first question. The second question really to Dr. Nishant, and it's about the criteria that's been used basically to select the developments of the early demonstrators project in some of the countries, Morocco, India, and so on. And how was the funding provided, and whether there is any opportunity for Oman to be part of such early, let's say, demonstrator, or to, let's say, to host one of the early demonstrator projects. Thank you.
you, sir. And if I may just invite just the last question because of the time constraint. Please.
Before the call, thank you, Your Excellency. Just general question, as we developing our hydrogen economy here in Oman, is there a balanced formula the team is building right now between how much of that green energy we are producing from the blessed energy we have in Oman versus export in the form of ammonia or hydrogen? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And may I invite Dr. Kwon? Yeah.
Okay, very good question. Is Korea has we have planning to the cooperative counterpart. Maybe we have to the this is 2030. The 2030 is some mirage of these two hydrogen. Just we have to the focus in green hydrogen. Now Korea is planning to the cooperation network is overseas hydrogen producers. This is Saudi Arabia and Australia and Malaysia and Canada, and many countries discussed. Just after we have to, we hope to with cooperated with Oman. Oman has very well to the this is green hydrogen producers. So this is condition is very good. Just we now continues to the discussed with Oman, and then we have nuclear power. I don't know exactly. Just we have some research, and then we can produce to the hydrogen used by the Ukraine energy. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Rasif?
Thank you for the question. For the formulation, as you said, what will be the export, what will be the import? The challenge here, once companies come here and do the feasibility study, the market is evolving. So for example, we say that our focus will be ammonia, but on the other hand, for example, yesterday there was an announcement for the Green Steel project. That was a very huge project that was announced for the land reservation. And we have some of the inquiries regarding methanol. So how can we utilize that export to the local market? It depends a lot on what will be the capital city of these projects, at what scale they will reach. This is number one. Number two, what will be the end product? What will be the end product? Is it going to be ammonia? Is it going to be methanol? Is it going to be green steel? And what is the local demand exactly? So because we don't want to impact the developers, but by having there is a certain percent that must be included for the local market, but reaching to that point, we must understand the global market. What does it need? And our focus is export. But what's the actual demand of that? Actual demand of this end product? So hopefully it will be much clearer once we have the first projects running, and it will be cleared up by the ministry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Bharadwaj.
Thank you for a very excellent question. There are two parts of your question. So one was, how did you meet, what was your selection criteria for selecting the demonstration projects? So when we decided to do these projects, GGG as an organization actually believes in learning by doing, number one. Number two, we create templates for application. And we work with large number of countries as our member countries, as advisors to the government, so we have to pick and choose different kinds of projects that could be replicated in many geographies. So for example, in Indonesia, we were looking at an example of where there is a availability of 24/7 renewable energy in the form of geothermal, and the advantage was that there was well-developed ports and shipping routes and closer to the demand centers. So low-hanging fruits, but at the same time creating an example, learning by doing and showing how to do a green hydrogen project so that the policy framework could evolve around that while the discussions are happening. Governments are also interested to see, don't just talk about it, just do it. So that's the process. Given huge potential in these countries, we have, for example, I can see the Samsung engineering colleagues here. We partnered with them to scale up from 10 megawatt to 1 gigawatt project because we know that there is a massive potential there. Because that's where the actual templates would be created. While the demonstration is good to see how the supply chains would work, but the scale up is where the templates are established. Looking at the small economies where there's huge amount of renewable energy but not domestic consumptions like Nepal, but where are the incentives, what are the kind of things that could be done to help those smaller countries with huge renewable energy source and how to establish that ecosystem. For India, very price sensitive market, so difference between gray and green, we are able to find a solution to bridge the gap between gray and green prices that could be replicated in a number of other economies and geographies. So that's what we are trying to do in India, and that's why we partnered with World Bank, IFC and MEGA to get that done. The second part of your question was how Oman can do that. Oman has massive experience in the gas sector and in the supply chains. I think Oman investment in these projects would be most welcome because ultimately, end of the day, the private sector has to come and invest in these projects. And that's the key and the backbone with the government policy support. So we'll be very happy to discuss and see how Oman can be part of some of those learning by doing and creating templates for application.
Yes, thank you very much indeed for the interactive discussions. If I may sum up the deliberations that have transpired in this session, we compared our notes about the policies and strategies. We also had a global